This came up in my feed, and I was not happy to see it. And I watched only a couple seconds of it, and I was like, I have to watch this on stream. I'm sorry, Lord James Chen. I have to come at you once again. Maybe. Emphasis on maybe. Fighting games have a big problem. Okay, what could the problem possibly be?
This has been purveying like throughout almost the entire year. People have been talking about this left and right, and it has created a very kind of odd environment for the FGC. Where has all the defense gone?
But to be fair, this is as far as I got. Is James Chen going to make a good point, or am I about to blow him up once again? Let's find out.
All of the fighting games are super aggressive now, and a lot of people are frustrated with it. Street Fighter 6, drive rush. Heat mechanics in Tekken 8, heat mechanic. Even in Guilty Gear Strive, a lot of people are mad because Strive has far less defensive mechanics than past Guilty Gear games.
All right, let's break this down. Drive Rush is neutral and offense, yes. But Street Fighter has a very, from my read of it, it has a very delicate problem of if you do something to the frame advantage to Drive Rush, they have to kind of redesign the game. Because you're playing this game around your drive gauge and everything being minus without drive for the most part, plus like throw stuff. You're essentially doing drive rush into mid or low, that's plus. Some characters can carve out their overhead and stuff. You get a mix up type thing. I don't know, this game has like, because it's so system focused, I feel like it has a really delicate balance it has to play. It's not as easy as like, oh, just change it. Heat, so this is, and again, I'm always gonna reference this. Heat is Tekken's first. You might be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, what do you mean? It could be this game. You might be like, okay, what are you talking about? Next hit, we're both gonna have the mechanic activate. Next good hit. Boom. Awakening. Every single round, you have to deal with the opponent getting 50 meter for free, plus 150 meter total, plus a defense bonus, plus a new super. Every single round, you have to deal with this. What's another game where there's a mechanic that you have to deal with some shit every single round? Almost every single game of DBFZ, you have to deal with fucking sparking, right? So I'm gonna stab him and guarantee he's about to spark. Okay, and cool. Now we gotta play this. We gotta play this for 6 seconds. If I get hit, I lose. If I get hit, I lose. If I get caught, I probably have to spark back. Very fun. What other game could we possibly think of where there's some fucking mechanic that you have to deal with every single time? Of course, Marvel 3. Every fucking game. There you go. And now you gotta deal with this. Oh, fast he goes. People say it's hype. Look. Okay, every game. This is not a new thing for 2D fighters. However, this is a very new thing for 3D fighters. And I always mentioned that I got a comment when I talked about Tekken 8 before, where I was like, oh, you know the meme of like the guy, I don't know what movie this is from, because I don't watch movies, but there's a meme of a guy who's like about to get hung, and he's looking with a smile. He goes, oh, first time? Like that's how I felt when like I was playing Tekken, and people were like, man, you're so chill about Heat. I was like, oh, is this your guys' first time dealing with and they're like, yeah, dude, this shit's bullshit. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just fucking desensitized. And it's less, let's say, universal than X Factor. I'm going like this for X Factor, where each character has their own like heat smash and special mechanics, and so the offense does get a lot better. And there's things about the actual, it's not just heat smash, there's things about the actual game. So like, since I'm not a long-time Tekken player, it doesn't bother me, but I know there's stuff about like certain long-time moves in the game. You used to be able to have like RPS around like stepping them, which now they just track better and shit. Right? Is my man good? Oh, and then we have, they mentioned
heat mechanic. Even in Guilty Gear Strive, a lot of people are mad because Strive has far less defensive mechanics.
That's definitely not why people are mad. This game has plenty of defense, and they added some. It's more that the main complaints I would say that people generally have about Strive is that the same characters have been top tier for too long. That's a huge one. Removing counterplay from some characters is another big one. And the final one is around high health and resource stuff. I don't usually hear people these days be like, there's not enough defense shit you can do. There's a ton of defense stuff you can do in Guilty Gear. Frankly, the biggest simple defensive difference between like Exert and Strive is because of the instant block system. You can't use air instant block the same. So like in Exert, air instant block has different frame data, like far superior frame data for the person who does it, and it resets your air options. In Strive though, they kind of compensate by like, oh, if you block a guard crush in the air and you land, you recover immediately. If you block a projectile in the air, it usually can like move way faster, and like, but people aren't really complaining about defense at this point in Strive.
If you watch some of those older games, like the Street Fighter 4 tournament this past weekend, when you watch Takabre just like teleporting and like doing nothing.
I get kind of annoyed when people use Street Fighter 4 as an example of this specifically, because obviously Street Fighter 4 is a very important game for fighting games in general, right? When you read interviews about like their goals with SF4, one of their big goals was nostalgia baiting people. The main reason the game is even like this, Street Fighter 4 is like this, is because it's like Street Fighter 2. They had this thought about Street Fighter 3 where the game's called Street Fighter, but all the characters that people love from 2 are basically not there, and they added they added Chun, Ryu, and Ken just because people were like, who the fuck is Alex? Did you guys know like Alex is the pro tag of Street Fighter 3? Did you guys know fucking Rashid is the pro tag of Street Fighter 5? I didn't know that until I watched a YouTube video. I always think it's Ryu, but apparently it's not Ryu. And then like the pro tag of Street Fighter 4 is also not Ryu. It's fucking Abel. It's mad random. And you know what's funny about Luke as a pro tag for Street Fighter 6? When they showed like the box art for the game, they're like, dude, why is Luke all over all the Street Fighter 6 shit?
Heat mechanic, people are mad about that because a lot of combos lead into guaranteed mix-ups. Obviously, drive rush canceling and just drive rushing in at opponents. You know, if they block your plus, it's a mix-up. If you hit them, you get to do a crap ton of damage. And so, you know, drive rush
like
drive rushing in at opponents. You know, if
all right, here's how I be thinking, bro. Again, I don't play this game as a competitive game for me. He gets a knockdown. He has this much drive rush, right? He does parry and a drive rush, does throw. This person has a ton of HP. You take the throw. Okay, now you're in the corner. So here he could do the throw loop thing, but risk return wise, I know you have to do it. I have this in my strategy too. Sometimes you gotta send it on bad risk reward, but it's like, is this that tilting? You know, I mean, like the real reason why you died is because you sent it. No. I feel like you have enough HP to not pick it, but I guess it's like you gotta pick something, and that's the thing that is tough about the game in the end.
It's like there have always been aggressive fighting games, right? The Marvel games are infamous for that.
I mean, team games are legit lineup. Well, I shouldn't say. No, honestly, a big part of it is line up the lunge into the Syscall, no?
Obviously, you can also be super lame in fighting games if you're like a Mora Doom player in UMVC 3.
More Doom.
But in general, the problem with it is not that the games are offensive and very aggressive. It's that all of the games are very offensive and very aggressive. What happened to having stronger defensive mechanics and such?
It exists, bro. Not only does it exist, you're kind of not playing the games that have it more, by the way. For modern games, I will concede that SF6 makes you guess, for sure. But like, again, not gonna speak on Tekken because I'm just not knowledgeable enough. But like, dude, I mean, you don't literally win in Strive because you fling yourself at people.
Even series like the NRS games, which were infamous for some of the craziest defensive characters, by the time they got to MK11, there was only one like zoner.
Is MK11 not a super defensive game, or am I trolling? What MKX characters play defense? I'm saying, I thought MK11 was more defensive than MK10.
It was just like Cetrion. When the game dropped for the longest time, Cetrion was the only zoning character. And you know what? Everybody hated her.
Was Cetrion not broken though? Lord Chen, man. Lord Chen, we might have to have a sit down, you and I, once again. We might have to have it. Cetrion was stupid. Yeah, I mean, when it's
fighting,
you know what keeps happening? It's the high character power games keep trying to reinvent the wheel on zoners, and then we're like, oh my god, it's fucking broken. UI Goku also, that's true.
Maybe their decision to be more offensive is not related to esports. The portion of the player base that watches esports is very small. Yeah, that's true, but even then, the players enjoy it a lot more.
Is he saying that about the players enjoy playing offensively more, or the players enjoy playing defensively more? I'm not sure. I mean, for a high level player, I think you're trying to find the sweet spot of like playstyle you enjoy plus good character. I want to say. I don't think it's. I mean, there's some people who really just want to play rushdown. Some people who really want to run away, but they're looking for a nice intersection. You know what I mean?
The patience of your average human to learn how to fight against defense is very low. And so you can have a player, you know, learn all this defensive tactics and stuff like that, and most people aren't going to try to fight it. And it could be some pretty complicated defense, but once you got the zoning going, a lot of the times it's still just really hard to break through. I think we've just gotten to this point right now where it feels like we just have no more defense.
I politely feel like you only watch Street Fighter. I cannot agree with this. I cannot agree with this. This is what I'm here for. I'm sorry. There's still like 2 minutes, so let's tank it. Let's tank these last 2 minutes.
Again, like, I enjoy Tekken 8. I was playing it and I was like, man, it's been so long since I've played Tekken 7. I miss this. I enjoy this. But obviously, I'm not a long-time Tekken player. But all I've heard from Tekken players is just how frustrated they are with the heat mechanic. And
yes, this circle back to the beginning. This is understandable because it's half. It's two things. One is literally their first time dealing with something like this if you've only played Tekken. And two, there's a very valid thing of, oh, I play Tekken because I don't want to deal with this fucking guy screaming about how he's ascending to the next level every fucking round. You know? So I give them that. I was like, okay, that's actually fair. That thing is very fair.
But again, there's older school players that are like, actually, this is closer to how it kind of was, because in old games it was more vortexy, and it's actually only in 7 where the game became really slow and about backdashing in and out. Like, let me try to go and I failed. Okay, stuff like that, right? So actually, you know.
And also 7 had a really long lifespan too on top of that. So it's not like if you're keeping up with like the main competitive anime game, Guilty Gear aside, you're usually switching games every year and a half to like 2-ish years. But Tekken is 2015 arcades, right? 2015 arcades, and then Tekken 8 is 2024. So that's a really long fucking time. Even if you started from console, that's like 2017 to 2024, right? So they actually, part of it is like some people in Tekken just have literally not played Tekken enough to know about like yeah, my boy, I remember when I was that week of me playing Tekken, I have a friend who's been playing since 1, and like he was telling me strategies and stuff like, oh yeah, you know, like Panda's always like this, they're memeing you, they're knowledge checking you, or like this thing is, yeah, it's memes, it's a knowledge check, this is what you do, or da-da-da, right? And he was like, yeah, you know, like the reason why you do this is because in this Tekken, this character literally just did this, and like you just got mixed over and over, and you couldn't get out if you didn't know about like this thing or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
It's weird. It's such a weird conversation here. Can I give Tekken one of the top 3 fighting games of the year? I don't know, because like the Tekken fans aren't even happy with the game, right? We're in this weird era where all our fighting games are really aggressive, and it's the problem. There is some justification for a lot of these players to dislike the current state of these fighting games, because it really is a snowball kind of game, right? So when you look at old games, it was like tiny little exchanges.
What games are you talking about, brother? Come on, man. There's a game that came out the exact same time as SF4 where I played a character that if she fucking command grabbed you, I unblockable you to death if I had the execution for it, buddy. What are you talking about? Ah, my God. Okay, it's fine. He's Street Fighter pulled. It's fine. It is what it is.
Right.
But he's been kind of generalist about it, which is like, that's why you gotta be like, okay, there's this, I'm not sure about it. There's that, I'm not sure about it. Like,
damage. But
is it bad that whenever I hear vague topics like this, I assume they talk about it so straight up? It's not bad. It's welcome to my world, basically.
Virtua Cope, you know, saying I got no issues with people hating Tekken 8. It is strange how people act like the series started with 7.
That's funny.
I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of people who are mad at Street Fighter 6 are acting like Street Fighter started with 5.
I have to give this video a cap out of 10. I'm sorry, James Chan. I don't agree with you that much. You heard and understood, but also mildly cap. Heard and understood, mildly cap, 2 Street Fighter pilled. You don't need, this might sound weird, but you don't need like a shit ton of defensive mechanics. You just need to make sure you have like, you really just need to make sure you have either like system restrictions on a couple of things, or like options that just make it so that people are not like locked down. You don't need a ton. Like, as long as you have like, okay, Maybe an activation for healing if you want, like a recoverable HP if you want. You don't need it. A guard cancel for sure. Characters with meterless reversals. Throw protection that makes sense. Especially if you have a heavily high-low game. If you're not playing like a high-low left-right game, you don't need a shit ton of throw protection. You don't need a lot. Maybe a parry. Maybe you don't. You know. I don't know. I'm sorry, Lord Chen. I cannot totally agree with this. I think you should have called that. I think you probably should have called this video Street Fighter and Tekken has a big problem. Just saying.